Jimin's dog passed away recently, leaving him heartbroken. He had been Jimin's companion for over 10 years, so it was a difficult time for him. The little pup had been with Jimin since he was a young adult, and they had many happy memories together. It was a huge loss that Jimin was trying to come to terms with. Jimin had loved his canine companion since the day they met, and had grown especially close over the years. They had been through a lot together. Even though it had been a few weeks since his dog's passing, Jimin was still struggling to cope with the grief. His loss was still raw and painful. He was trying to be strong, but the pain was still very present and overwhelming. Jimin found himself frequently tearing up and missing his four-legged best friend dearly. It was hard for Jimin to believe he wouldn't look into that friendly, loving face ever again. That he would never feel the joy that came from his dog being around him. Jimin was trying to keep himself busy so he wouldn't have time to think and feel the pain, but it was still there regardless. It was as if a piece of him was missing, and it was painful to realize that his friend was gone forever. He was finding it hard to keep himself together. Jimin's family had been supportive of him throughout the entire process of dealing with the loss, however it was still very difficult. He was focusing on all of the happy memories they had shared in the last few years. It was helping him to mourn in a more positive light. The little pup had been a constant in Jimin's life for so many years, and it was hard to understand that he was now gone. No amount of training or understanding could prepare someone for the sudden loss of a furry friend. It was a grieving process that had to be taken slowly. The death of his pet had been sudden, leaving Jimin in a state of shock. He had not been expecting it, and the pain of it was still fresh. Jimin was trying to remember all the happy times they had together, even though it was difficult to think of the happier times in his pain. He was finding solace in going outside and remembering the days that they would go for walks together. It was helping him to feel connected to his furry friend in some way. Jimin was still devastated by his loss and was trying to move forward without his companion. He was slowly getting used to the idea of life without his pet by his side. As he was mourning, Jimin had one decision to make: whether he wanted to adopt another animal or not. He was still not sure what his future would be. He was debating about it, as he was still unsure if he could handle another pet. Plus, there was no guarantee that another pup would bring him as much joy as his last pet. One thing was for certain: no other pup would replace the one he lost. No matter how many he owned, Jimin's heart was still devoted to the one he lost. He was slowly getting back to his usual self, but the grief of the loss was still heavy in the air. Jimin's dog had been a huge part of his life, and he was struggling to come to terms with the fact that they would never be together again. It was a difficult time for him, but with the support of his family and friends, He was slowly but surely beginning to heal. Jimin missed his pop dearly, but he was learning to live without him. He was cherishing all of the memories they had shared and trying to focus on the happy times. Jimin had been through a lot over the past few weeks and he was surprised at how resilient he had been. He was slowly getting better. Jimin was honoring his pop's memory in the best way he could by continuing to live life to the fullest. His pop would have wanted that.